Hello, fellow actor, and welcome to lesson number 4, the 4 building blocks of a film script. Now, if you remember, we went over these. However, in this lesson, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into environment, events, situations, and circumstances. Now, when you think of the word environment, what comes to mind? Outdoors, indoors, correct? Exactly. In fact, the dictionary definition of an environment is this: the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives. Sounds sort of like biology class or ecology in high school. But in the ecosystem of a film set or on a stage, an environment is very different. Now, chances are good you have never seen this type of environment in your house, in your apartment, in your condominium. Neither have I. It's called a green screen set. And a green screen set, if you're not familiar with it, is a major help when it comes to defining fantasy. It helps visual effects, artists and compositors, filmmakers to create worlds with an unbelievable sense of authenticity. Say, for example, the X-Men. A green screen allows you to imagine what it would be like to be a superhero. Now, I don't mean to blow the lid off of your illusion, but this is exactly what a green screen does. A green screen is a green background in front of which moving objects, such as you and I, are filmed and allows a separately filmed background to be added to the final image. Hence what you see behind me. The dramatic explosion is really not happening. The standoff between villain and superhero is actually just a blank screen. But this is where the imagination takes over. This is where your imagination takes over. This is why reading the script, understanding the script, and using your image, your imagination, to breathe life into that character so you can convince the audience that this is real, even though they know it's not. You have an imagination, and so do I. As actors, it is our duty, it is our mission in life and in our career to exercise our imagination each and every day, to be extraordinary, to step out of ourselves into the script, into the imagination of the character, so we can express it, or him or her, convincingly. James Dean put it this way: being an actor is the loneliest thing in the world. You're all alone with your concentration and imagination. And that's all you have. However, famous acting coach Sanford Meisner put it like this: acting is behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Now think about that just for a minute. What I like to say is ACT. Always choose truthfully. So you take the script and you read it and you reread it again and you begin to image yourself into the character, placing yourself in their shoes, connecting with them emotionally and mentally. What they believe, you believe. What you believe, they believe. You become one, and yet you're parallel, like I've said many times before. Now here's an example: behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances, or imagining the character's environment and adopting it as your own. Director Christopher Columbus filmed a certain movie, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin, a.k.a. Kevin. In this movie, he is home alone. His family has left him and orphaned him, as it were. And he is realizing that he is home alone. Take a look at the picture. Now, is he really home alone? No. There's the crew, the lighting, the cameramen, everything is surrounding him, and yet he has to imagine that he is indeed home alone on this set, which happens to be a house, which is, of course, one of the major sets or the physical location or the environment of this particular movie. Now, I don't mean to be obvious, but it is obvious. When you're studying a script, you want to keep it simple and as clear as possible. This is why it's important for you to break down a script and understand where you're at, why you're there, and how to react to that, and how to mentally and emotionally react to that particular environment. Now, every script is going to have different scenes with different types of environments. The restaurant scene in Pulp Fiction, the New York street scene with West Side Story, or The Martian with Matt Damon. So now you might say, David, why are you making such a big deal out of exterior and interior and environments? They're just physical, right? Absolutely, they are physical. However, how often do you as a human being, from your day-to-day life, not as an actor, go about different environments and you become accustomed to it? You go outside, it's cold, you put on a coat. You go inside, you take off your coat, you turn up the heat because it's a little chilly. You go to a restaurant, a fancy restaurant, and you conduct yourself in a certain way, whereas if you go into a Starbucks or a Tim Hortons, you conduct yourself in a very different way. All of those changes in our physical environment affect our physical movements. They affect the way we feel about ourselves and about other people. Now, when it comes to an environment on a film set, an environment on a stage, everything changes. Everything. And why is that? Everything gets more intense and more exacting and more to the letter. It gets more specific depending on the scenes that are played out. Now, why is it more intense? Why do we have to be more conscious of our environment when it comes to acting? Because, my fellow actor or actress, people are relying on you. There are production teams on film sets that need you to perform and to be on time and to be ready at any moment to act, to be in the scene, to take one, take two, take 250, to support what they do. Unlike real life, where we basically live in this comfortable box where we don't have to answer to everybody, not at least on a conscious level, there are production teams. They're responsible for organization, preparation, wrapping, taking care of the actors, producers, directors, and financiers. And then there's assistant directors, breaking down the script into an organized shooting schedule, communicating with all departments on a daily basis. The grips, assembling and maintaining support equipment for camera, including dollies, dolly truck, and different types of jibs. The placement of the lighting, cinematographers, cameramen, preparing and operating the camera, setting up the monitors, and tracking footage, managing film or digital media. And then there are costumes and wardrobe people. Design of all costumes for principal talent and background, including aging, dyeing, and alterations. All of these people, and mind you, I just gave you a very small list, which, by the way, if you look in your downloads, there'll be a big list of production teams. Familiarize yourself with it, because I'll tell you what, everything is set up at the very beginning and the actor is chosen last. However, when you are chosen for a role, they expect you to be first. They expect you to be there first, which gives you very much responsibility for being on the set and being there on time, ready and conscious and aware, hey, I'm going to be working with all these teams of people and they're relying on me because they did all the preparatory work. Which brings us to event. Now, an event, as far as acting is concerned, goes something like this. Film script structure starts with the overall shape of the story. The order of events are revealed with purpose, defining relationships, shaping a view of the world and our societies. How does this benefit the audience? How does this benefit the actor? The actor is the one who acts in the event and produces and performs in front of an audience, whether that be a live audience or on screen. Now, here's an example of an event. In the Broadway musical, as well as the award-winning film West Side Story, if you haven't seen it, see it. Classic story of Romeo and Juliet. Two feuding families become warring city gangs, the White Jets against the Latino Sharks. Their hatred escalates to a point where neither one can coexist with any form of understanding. They're at war. Now, the environment? New York City, baby. The event is between the Sharks and the Jets and the Sharks, and their opposing families. With Romeo and Juliet, same thing. This is the event. Now, the event is what really brings in the atmosphere. I haven't mentioned that yet. Atmosphere is a visceral experience that is embraced through the script. Because first you have, of course, the environment. Then you have an event which triggers something emotional, triggers something mental and emotional. You'll find it in the script. It's the ambiance of a scene, the ambiance, the atmosphere, sort of like a nice, beautiful restaurant, Oh, the ambiance, how they say. It's established by going beyond the basic, beyond the obvious, beyond the shallow, to the evocative. What brings you into the scene? It's the event, the unique, and, of course, the intentional, the intentions of the characters when they come together, or in this case, the Sharks and the Jets come together to rumble. Now, mind you, that's just one example of an environment, i.e. New York City, and an event between two opposing gangs. I am sure that when you find your favorite movie, you will look at it very, very differently. And when you pick up a script, a film script, from now on you will see it in a new light. Which brings us to situation. We have the environment, the physical structure, interior, exterior. We have the event, the two opposing forces or conflicts, if you will. And then we have a situation within the event, okay, which brings you closer into an extreme close-up emotionally and mentally of what the characters are doing in the scene. Which brings us to the 4 conflicts of humanity. First, let's look at the situations in a scene. What is a situation again? A situation is a set of facts. It's the circumstances at the present time or in the moment, what you're focusing on. The story, in its most simple level, there will be a protagonist and an antagonist, because there are 4 types of conflicts in humanity. 1, man versus man versus self, man versus nature, and man versus society. But let's take a look at man versus nature, shall we, just for a moment? Man versus Nature, 1975, Steven Spielberg's blockbuster hit, Jaws, all about a shark with a big mouth. As you can see, Man versus Nature. Look at the darling captain there trying to feed the shark. Actually, he is lunch. This is a definite case of man versus nature, nature versus man. If you haven't seen the movie, I suggest you do. I saw it, and I was only 11 years old, and I screamed as well as everybody else in the theater. Things were different back then. People were not as desensitized as they are nowadays. And that, my friend, is a secret to real acting, real relating, is when you get so deep, no pun intended, you get so deep into the character and imagine what is going on. And you can imagine yourself in the character's shoes. Which brings us to the 4th and the final building block of a film script. Circumstance. Think about the word circumstance for a minute. Circumstances are the things surrounding a situation, in the event, in the environment. Another word for circumstance is circumvent, things surrounding, and where you're standing, circumstance. Yeah, I'm digging pretty deep here, but this is all going to make sense at the end. You and I are going to put this puzzle together, and it's going to make sense. Circumstance. In a dramatic scene, or monologue, or improvisation, the term given circumstances refers to the who, where, what, when, why, and how of characters, i.e., who are you? I think that I already covered this, but it's worth repeating. Oh, and there it is. I'm sure you've seen this before in many different lessons. The 5 W's of a powerful outcome. So let's wrap this up, shall we? We have the environment, which is your physical space that you're in. You have the event, which is the activity happening. And then within the event, you have a situation between 2 or more people, such as the Jets and the Sharks, or the shark that ate the captain in Jaws. And then you have the circumstance, what surrounds that event and surrounds that situation, and ultimately breathes in the atmosphere within the environment. What I'm going to do, I am going to show you a script, and we're going to break it down, with the 4 building blocks. Are you ready? The Dark Knight, 2008, with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger. The Dark Knight interrogation scene. I found this script. I was very happy to do so, and I would like to go over it with you, this one particular scene. In this scene, there is Lieutenant Gordon, there is the Joker, and at the very last minute in this scene, Batman appears. So let's read. The Joker. Of course not. Gordon. What have you done with him? The Joker laughs. Me? I was right here. Who did you leave him with? Your people? Assuming, of course, they are your people and not Maroney's. Off look. Does it depress you, Lieutenant, to know how alone you are? Gordon can't help glancing at the mounted camera. The Joker. Does it make you feel responsible for Harvey Dent's current predicament? Gordon. Where is he? The Joker. What time is it? Gordon. What difference does that make? The Joker. Depending on the time, he might be in one spot or several. Gordon moves to the Joker, undoes his handcuffs. Gordon. If we're going to play games, I'm going to need a cup of coffee. The Joker. The good cop, bad cop routine. Gordon pauses, hand on the doorknob. Gordon. Not exactly. Gordon steps out. The overhead lights come on. Batman is behind him. The Joker blinks in the harsh white light. Wham! The Joker's face hits the table, comes up for air. Crack, crack to the head. Batman is in front of him. The Joker stares, fascinated and bleeding. The Joker. Never start with the head. Victim gets fuzzy. Can't feel the next crack. Batman fist smacks down on the Joker's fingers. The Joker, calm. See, Batman, you wanted me. Here I am. The Joker. I wanted to see what you do, and you didn't disappoint. Now, I tried very hard not to put the tonal inflection of the Joker in there. I love this movie. So, what we're going to do, we're going to break this down into the 4 building blocks of a script. One thing I want to point out to you, and it is in one of the downloads concerning film terminologies. Parentheticals. Now, what a parenthetical is a note or direction on how a particular line of dialogue or action is delivered by a character, i.e., you, the actor. Parentheticals often communicate emotion, action, or delivery within a screenplay's dialogue. Parentheticals are used to move the plot forward and to give the reader a clearer idea of what is occurring within the dialogue scene. Now, if you want more great knowledge, look up studiobinder.com because that is where I found the script, The Dark Knight. They have excellent scripts, famous, really good scripts, and they're free. So now that we know what a parenthetical is, let us take a look once again at the interrogation scene. The Joker laughs. A laugh is an emotion. Off look. It gives a physical direction where the Joker does not look at Lieutenant Gordon. Smiles. Gordon stands, moves to the Joker, undoes his handcuffs. Gordon pauses, hand on the doorknob. Gordon steps out. Batman is behind the Joker. The Joker blinks in the harsh white light. The Joker's face hits the table, comes up for air, crack to the head. Batman is in front of him. The Joker stares, fascinated, bleeding. Batman's fist smacks down on the Joker's fingers. Joker is calm. Now, of course, you're going to have a director. A director directs you on a set. However, they expect you to direct yourself with the parentheticals. This gives you an inner direction of what to do, what emotion to feel, and how you move, because energy in motion is emotion. And believe it or not, parentheticals help to define the environment, the events, the situation, and the circumstance. They all go hand in hand. So, I'm going to give you some homework to do. Are you ready? Go to studiobinder.com. Go under script writing and then scroll down. It has a drop-down menu and it'll say brainstorming. In that page, you want to scroll down just a little bit and it's going to say free movie scripts online. It lists so many amazing scripts. Pick one out, study it, read it, break it down. Look on your downloads, be a detective, and see where the parentheticals are. See where you can identify the film terminologies, and even look a little bit deeper and imagine where the production teams would come into play. If you have questions, you know how to find me, you know how to reach me. I am high touch, low tech. Let me know what script that you chose on the one-on-one coaching, and we're going to break it down, and we're going to learn how to break down a script, how to build our characters so you can win the audition and become a great actor.